You're good.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the July, was it 28th, 2026 meeting of the Citizen Police Review Board. And I officially call the meeting to order. To start the meeting off, we do have Ms. Shields will not be attending with us tonight, and we still do have two vacant spots on the board, which Executive Director will speak to shortly. So we do not have a quorum this evening, but we do have an invited guest who we still want to go ahead and have that presentation, and we'll still hear from our Executive Director with her report. Again, without the quorum, we can't approve the minutes. Those materials did go out in the packet, so I do make sure that everyone has a chance to review those. We will look for approval for those at the next meeting in September. And this real quick, do we get a roll call for who is here from the board?
Mr. Davis,
Present.
Mr. Kotler,
Present.
Mr. Robinson.
I'm present as well.
I understand that Ms. Shields has sent notice that she will not be here tonight, so she is absent. And Dr. Gershie has notified us that she is having computer problems, but is intending to arrive. At that point, you will have formed a quorum.
Oh, okay.
But you do not have a quorum at this time.
All right. So we'll hold off on the action on the minutes then at that point. And I don't have any remarks for myself. Dr. Gershie is not on yet. But basically for tonight, then what we'll do is we'll go, we'll hear a report from the chair, Executive Director's report. We will be able to do the case review at that point should Dr. Gershio arrive. And then I don't know, where do we have space in there for Mr. Gowski? I'm not sure in the agenda where that's going to happen.
And Mr. Gowski is part of my report, so.
Okay. All right. So with that, I guess we will turn over to you, Ms. Pittenger, for your report.
Thank you, Mr. Robinson, and good evening, everyone. I will move directly to our guest, Mr. Gowski, who is the Assistant Director of Public Safety here in the city of Pittsburgh, and has been critically important to the development, organization, reorganization, and redeployment of the crisis response model here in the city of Pittsburgh. Really appreciate you coming tonight, Laura. Thank you very much. And would you just give us an update on the status of your reorganized unit and where you guys stand right now?
Thank you, Director. Thank you, everyone, for including me tonight, and I think for your ongoing support and frankly necessary critical feedback on the directions that we take. I had a conversation with Director Williams today, and who I know is very near and dear to you all. And he says hello. I'm sure he would love to say more, but I won't speak on his behalf. But I think we are doing this for the first time, and that does come with some times where we have to look back and see if the decision we've made is making sense, if it's in the right direction. I think what's critically important is that if we think we've maybe strayed, that we course correct quickly. I think we see not infrequently that once a group has made a commitment to something, it's really difficult to rethink it. And we've always tried to be self-critical in the process of the work that we're doing. So with that said, you all, I mean, I think many of you were involved in discussions about within the last year regarding a sort of refocus on a purely clinician-based crisis model. There are a tremendous number of strengths to that. And I don't think I know when I got to speak with you all last, we are not dispensing with that, but we are encountering, as you may know, situations where there is a pretty substantial safety component. And I will not say her name, but a very prominent advocate in the community who also is a social worker. I remember when we were first launching this work in 2020, who said to me, people assume that individuals who are helpers in this capacity, social workers, are willing to go out into situations that are unsafe because they want to see something better for their participants, their patients. And while it is true that that's what they want, it can never be at the expense of the well-being of them or their community, you know, as a whole. So we try to find that balance. And with that, we reflected a bit on what we weren't able to do. And some of those connections that we lost with the Bureau of Police, which, you know, for better or for worse, are really necessary. There's information that law enforcement will get that we never, well, I can't say never, that for a long time we probably won't. We want to talk to those people. We want to talk to those individuals who are in some way either caught up in the criminal legal system or are adjacent to casualties of, however we might look at it. We need to be able to connect with them. And we have a lot of partners in the Bureau of Police who are really meaningfully supportive in doing so. And I think you've met Sergeant Bristow in the past. There are a number of our officers, our colleagues who do that. So on the 17th of June, we announced our relaunch of co-response. We had been working on that for some time. I think there were members of our team who were really, really committed to co-response, which is, you know, just a refresher, is the model where we have specialized officers as well as our social work team responding in the same vehicle. They can be directly dispatched. They can be called in by colleagues. The goal is direct dispatch because that is sort of the most efficient, but sometimes, you know, we appreciate when our bureau colleagues and other partners call us in, because that's a great recognition that they know that they're not the right fit for that response, and that right response model has always been our priority. So we did launch that in the public eye on the 17th. We had a few weeks of working through, we'll say, very initial challenges that we had just getting it back in place. We will be hiring, or we will have team members in place to have a representative in each of the 6 police zones, as well as our team lead, whose name is Jamie, who did get to speak at our press conference, and she's quite marvelous as well. She's kind of running the team, but also downtown. So she does a walking beat. She does a lot of work with the Downtown Court Project, with the Department of Human Services. She has pretty extensive experience in the behavioral health system. And we have right now three mighty social work team members who are part of our team, and we have a list of officers who are the qualified list, the senior most qualified list, who we will bring in according to union requirements once we have a team. So we will be putting up jobs. We have 4 slots that we will be trying to fill. And I will make sure to share that with you all the moment we have those jobs up and available. Hopefully that's very soon. I hear that from my team a lot too. We've also had a great opportunity under Chief Lando and Lieutenant Cunningham, who oversees our unit, to make some changes with respect to communication in particular. And great thanks to Director Williams, we have added radios to our team. I know it sounds difficult. They are purely for the purpose of safety and efficiency. My colleague Nate, who works out of Zone 4 and 5 with Officer Sullivan, was explaining that there have been a few, we'll just call them like almost a comedy of errors, where someone was driving, if one of our team members is in a situation where they wouldn't be appropriate because there's a pursuit that's more law enforcement involved, we have a safety plan where they would be dropped off somewhere safe. And this was some years ago. Nate was explaining that there was a call where he got dropped off and the officer went to pursue a suspect in a potential carjacking. And it seems a little like a cartoon where that car doubled back and Nate sort of like waved while the car went by and then had to use his cell phone to call. So we have some efficiency opportunities, and we're always looking for that. We're looking for safety and efficiency. So overall, I think we've had, you know, it's always difficult to retell the stories because there's, number one, there's someone's personal story, and number two, they're complicated. But our team has helped with situations that involved some people who had holed themselves up in their home, and our team helped with getting those individuals out safely, helping some people who had been in a position where they were considering taking their own lives. And so we've had those impacts. We've also had some very difficult calls where our team was first on scene for someone who had completed suicide, but is working with the survivor of that situation. And I know you guys are not unfamiliar with that. So we're working on that differentiation. We don't need officers and everything, and we're very aware of that. So the other side of the house, which is the team, and I think you've met Katie Zeke, and she's like a dynamo as well. So her team that is going to be doing this is what we were originally kind of referring to as an integrated response, where we see this value in potentially partnering with a paramedic or another medical responder. And that would allow us to start to strip some of the calls off that EMS gets, which are quite a bit, that don't require transport. But that we would never want to compromise on the assessment of someone's medical well-being by sending out people who aren't medically qualified to assess that. So our team right now, thanks to Director Williams and Dr. Platt over at the Center for Emergency Medicine at Pitt, are going back to their undergraduate biology days, and they have been in an intensive EMT course, which I have so much respect for them because I did my EMT course last year, and it was not this consolidated course, and it absolutely kicked my butt. If anybody ever tells you becoming an EMT is easy, I encourage you to do it, but it is not. It is really, really hard. So much respect, but they are they are nearing the end of that course. I know Katie was just out on her shadow rounds today, and was having a pretty enthusiastic time of going out with the medics. So the goal for that team would be that they can do something that one of our colleagues, James Latowski from EMS, has been piloting with the Roots team, which is they listen to the calls and they can self-dispatch out to a call. We have a paramedic and an EMT. So if an ALS unit is needed, they are an advanced life-saving unit. That BLS provider, that EMT can provide a BLS assist. They can stabilize a patient while we wait for an ALS unit to arrive to transport. But if we don't need an ALS unit to transport, we can disregard the medics, we can disregard the firefighters, and we can disregard the police. So ideally, for every one call, like one response you have from our team, there are 3 units that don't come. That's the goal, right? Is that we don't need all of the public safety infrastructure on a very large number of these calls. And then we can take time, because I think that's the one thing that we really want to do here is give people time. Public safety doesn't have it. And even in our work, we've been talking a lot about this sort of numbers game that we play. How many people have you seen? How many responses that you have? And I think it's important. Like, we don't want to sit on our duffs and not respond and not be there. But time is the thing we don't have. It's sitting with people. It's processing information with them. It's understanding what they need. So, so that team will finish up. I think their last day of class may be the 10th. And then they have some exams to take, and then we will be piloting this is my, I haven't moved enough. My lights are turning off. Efficiency. We are trying to save the planet too. But yeah, we will have both of these teams, and our staff got together and kind of tried to divide up what they saw as each team's primary sort of calls of responsibility. There was incredible alignment on it. So we don't feel like this is duplicating efforts. I think you're not unfamiliar that there are enough calls to go around for everybody and then some. So we're really enthusiastic about that. And then we just had some really great relationship building that my colleagues have done with our partners at the Department of Human Services. So we will be expanding the Roots team's hours into the evening. That'll give us coverage until 11 p.m. So that's our Reaching Out on the Streets homelessness team, which we were very fortunate to initiate in 2020. And they have, really done a lot of work since coming over from Allegheny Health Network into the city. And likewise, they will have hours, I think it's 1 to 9 on weekends, where we're going to try to just have more accessibility, continuity. Dream situation would be that if some members of that team are interested, that we could pair them as EMTs with EMS as well. And we could have that responding unit, those responding units during the evening and weekend hours as well. So we're really trying to do the sort of maximum impact with the staff we have. And I think, the thing that I've always appreciated about my colleagues is that there are some jobs where we do have some educational criteria and requirements as a function of the situations they're in related to working alongside with law enforcement and having to be able to assert their own documented expertise and experience. But much of our staff, we don't have that sort of master's level requirement because we have people who know how to work with people and they know how to care for people. And we are working very hard to give them the rest of the core competencies to be able to do that, irrespective of what educational background they come in with. And I think that this integrated response in particular affords us that opportunity that if we can get them trained up to be assisting medics, but then taking the lead when it is a social determinants of health, social services call, that we can really complement the rest of our response continuum. So I thanks for the time.
Thank you, Mr. Gowski. And I do see that Dr. Goshia was able to join us. So welcome.
Thank you. Sorry, guys. It's my computer. We're good.
Did any of the members have any questions for Laura on the presentation? Again, thank you for the presentation, Laura.
I have a few things that I'd like to say. And primarily, Laura, I just have to congratulate you. And, you know, there were a couple of years where you were not a part of the city's infrastructure. And I think those of us that had agreed and were of like mind, we recognized and missed that, your presence, because you just described a very creative way of developing efficiencies that truly this area has never seen, but are so remarkably sensible. And I deeply respect your respect for the human component of all of these moving parts, where you're really describing an on-scene triage for social determinants of need. And that's just like, yeah, that's fantastic. But you're also looking at what they come in with and how do you develop the person and give them the skills that will not only benefit the public at large and be a complement to the city's the quality of life, but also for them, their own value. I mean, it's just a remarkable bunch of stuff you put together with such passion and enthusiasm. And we are so fortunate to have you back and in a position where those decisions and that direction and that creativity can just run loose. And our team has worked with many members of your teams. And our team, yearns to have a better, maybe a more effective, or maybe not, that's not maybe the right word, but to be engaged more with your team members, because our team sees things that people need, but we're limited. I mean, what we do is so limited in terms of, the focus on police conduct, policies and procedures and that sort of thing. But the hands-on part, our team gets out there on the street and they're running into people that are needy. And what can they do? We can only say you can only do so much and pass their name on. And I know that that's a source of frustration. So thank you for your encouragement of your team to be supportive and to accept our team members in the fashion that they have. It's been very helpful. And you have our beloved Sheldon.
Yeah, you did.
We miss him. We miss him terribly, but here is what he has, he's promoting. And that's just, we're very proud of that. And we're proud that that all of our paths have crossed together.
Doctor, I wanted to say, I am so glad you mentioned Director Williams. I'm Sheldon, but he's my boss. So Director Williams, I wanted to note that, part of the accountability work that you all do is what drives the necessary innovation. There's a role for activists, advocates, accountability, stakeholders. We need all of it. We need it. Otherwise, it doesn't push for the change. So I think we're incredibly grateful for the ongoing partnership and the criticism, which is tough and needed sometimes. We will recover. It's what resilience looks like. But I also do want to just agree with you that Director Williams has been a gift to us. He is an incredible support. And I think we're learning a lot, not just from the director, but I would say that a lot of what we've tried to do is to learn from people like John Moon and the Freedom House medics. Chief Moon did come in and speak to our team, which, then everybody wanted to become an EMT. And I was like, better not leave my John Moon. What have you done to us? but we want that spirit, which was, you know, we'll do it. You know, we don't want to take other people's pieces of the pie, but there's plenty of pie. There's plenty of pieces left. Like we can fill a lot of gaps, and we have, it doesn't require necessarily the formal education that I think has historically been needed or desired in certain positions. Knowing how to help people and knowing how to care for people is something that is inherent to a lot of people who may not have higher levels of education, and that just requires us to provide them with the fortifying support to know the rest. And I think, you know, perfect world is speak it into existence, hopefully, is that someday we have something akin to an academy, so that we can develop those core competencies for our partners in coordination with, you know, with Cornell, with Assistant Director Jones, with the REACH teams and with others, because I think there is a set of core competencies that if we can all learn those, we start from a good place, and then people can kind of self-select and learn where they have the most impact to play across what I think is sort of that SDOH continuum or that support continuum.
And having that self-motivation for self-enrichment too.
Yeah.
The whole notion of self-edification is something that we seem to have lost. Your enthusiasm seems it could be motivating in that regard. I have one tactical question to ask. Do your staff, how do they interact, train, or otherwise engage with police negotiators?
I'm so glad you asked. We started with our our co-response team. 2 of the 3 existing staff went to FBI negotiator training, which was I think harrowing, very informative, and I think it's something, as well as one of our officers went to it. So I've asked if they can debrief us. We have an acting sergeant, Aaron Connor, who's one of our co-response officers from the jump. So we've asked if they could give us a debriefing on what they learned. But separately, we are working on a training or a sort of, let's say, a collaborative understanding with SWAT. It is not lost on me that I have staff who go into situations pretty regularly where it is not that we don't assess the threat. We're just so accustomed to the people with whom we work that we don't perceive it as a threat, where others may see a threat. There was without naming a street, there was a street that we went to where there's a whole host of really complicated things going on, and there are a lot of buildings that are boarded up, partially boarded up, and that is not unfamiliar territory, especially to my colleague Ben, who runs the Roots program. And some of that is as encampments have been sort of shrunken down, people have to go somewhere, and whether that's to shelters or to abandoned buildings. And in fact, there are quite a lot of people in abandoned buildings. That is a difficult shift that has happened, and that my colleagues we are all trying to navigate. But we're not unaccustomed to doing like the hard knock and saying, hey, we're with Roots, we're with Outreach, we're here to just check in, we're going to come in and see where you are. And we aren't armed. We're not used to being armed. We're used to approaching people and being candid about who we are and where we're going. And I know in talking with one of the officers, he said that is not something we would do. And I get it. It's different training, and it's a different level of threat, sort of perception, risk. They also see a lot of really bad stuff that we very fortunately don't. So it's interesting to kind of see where each side comes from with their own experiences and perceptions, and then understanding how we approach that differently and whether we both might be able to learn something. Because I have absolutely no standing to say SWAT doesn't need to do what SWAT does. But I wonder how we can collaboratively approach some of these situations where we might see a less forceful engagement.
And Laura, that's what draws the criticism from so large majority of the community critics, because they don't see the evil that the police see routinely and that they're trained to deal with. Then we have all of us good do-gooders on the other side that we sometimes at our own peril will go into a situation that we're not really prepared to deal with, and we're going to suffer the consequences. That was one of the things last year where I think I was a little bit harsh with other people that were involved with the co-response stuff, that whatever was going on. But that was related to safety mechanics training. I was like, they scoffed at me when I brought that up. And I was like, well, no, that's like really important. And I can say that from my own experience and my own work, in the mental health, mental retardation field. Okay, I've done foolish things. I've been hurt. I wasn't prepared until I realized, well, maybe I could be better prepared to do this. And then I felt a little bit more confident once you have engaged with a threat that you didn't anticipate. And they're seeing that all the time, the cops. And they see the world differently, much differently. And finding that place in the middle, I don't know. I think you're on the right road though when you talk in terms of this basically triage on the scene to minimize the call out for all public safety services when maybe only one is necessary or maybe none. And then you're going to have to build the capacity though for the treatment capacity that we don't have now, which is part of the
that part is very difficult. And I will say the original thrust of our office, which it's hard to, I don't know, walk and chew gum. It's hard to report things and do the work and have time for both. And when a sacrifice is made, it's always, we hope, always in favor of the externalizing, and the focus is on the people. But that, doesn't do us a ton of favors with everybody else. But the one thing that we always wanted to be able to do was say, okay, we have a pretty, an interestingly comprehensive reach in some ways relative to other programs and partners. And that means that we test the waters with a lot of different organizations on a very regular basis. And when something might not be responsive or supportive in the way we expected, we don't want to go and dry snitch on them and say, so-and-so, Mr. Ray's place is not like doing what we need it to do, right? But rather to get a sense of where are our deficits? Where do we find the biggest issues? Whether that's, I think very early on when we started working with the aging with the officers, the very first thing I learned from one of the officers was that they never knew if APS actually showed up to check on people. They probably did. There was just no way to close that loop because the APS staff could not call the police and tell them what they found. That was a confidentiality issue. But then the police assumed that they never went out. And so then the police said they don't do anything. And, of course, it got and I don't mean to paint with too broad a stroke, but this is what they felt. And we said, okay, so we said, APS, what would it take for you to tell someone? Like, who would you need to tell? We get it. You don't want to tell the officers, but would you tell, I don't know, Dr. Roth? Would you tell Sheila Roth? Would you tell someone? Because we just need to be able to tell them that you did in fact go and you are pursuing it, or call it in again the next time you see something because the team didn't find what you've reported. We also found that, especially with cognitive decline, you see some more pronounced expression at night. Sorry, Ray. Anyways, we would like to be able to, I don't want to say push back, but be a collaborator in improving some of the systems, recognizing the financial limitations, recognizing that no one is flush with money to build all new systems, but where do we see the significant vulnerabilities?
So you spoke money. Do we have a contract with Allegheny County? I'm sorry, Mr. Robinson. Do we have a contract as being providers for Allegheny County?
So that is the first contract we have with them is for the extension of the Roots program. So we will be providers, but we are serving more in that like public safety capacity as a bridge. I don't know that the city is ever going to be the most appropriate entity to do things like provide shelter, provide housing. I think we probably wouldn't be any good at it. But we do have a contract with them and we will be reporting into their systems to some degree and have that data access. And I feel very optimistic. We've been working a lot with Abby Horn and her team, who I've known for some time. And I feel like we're in a really positive place with that team where when we say something, they believe us. When they say something, we believe them. And it doesn't feel like a mistrust that we're working on our trust here. It's like a couples counseling. We're working on our trust building exercises. Sorry about that, Ray. I'm so sorry.
No, I kind of want to chime in. I think part of this is for multiple entities to realize is some of the folks that your teams are going to encounter are individuals that have significant multi-system needs. And oftentimes they don't get addressed after the first referral, the second referral, the third referral. So and I know law enforcement, oftentimes, one of the reasons I think this whole initiative came about was police officers tired of dealing with the same people over and over and over, and it wasn't a law enforcement matter. Well, that doesn't change just because we switch it to co-response folks, right? Some of the folks in the service provider field know this as well. If you're working with certain people in the homeless community, mental health, behavioral health, they experience the same thing. Like we see some of these same individuals. Yes, you can get them to everything. You can give them every referral, that warm handoff. And some folks still is for them at that time, it's not the time yet. And so I always try to caution everybody to kind of like, you never know when that time is going to be. And so, yes, sometimes it seems repetitive. Sometimes it might seem like, why are we doing this? But you never know. And I think you talk to anybody who's been on the other side of that, and they know when they finally had that click to say, I'm going to make a change. I'm actually going to follow through with this referral now, or I'm going to go back. And it's making sure that all the folks from the law enforcement that don't see that, again, it's hard to see those moments when we see so many otherwise. But when you do, that's a pretty cool thing. And I always try to, throughout my different positions, try to keep that in everyone's mind is like, yes, you're not going to see overwhelming changes from most of the people most of the time, but that's not why we do what we do. And so I think recognizing that is one. Related, I know that you were talking briefly about the perceptions of safety. So I also formerly oversaw a child protective services agency. And we would have these discussions how my staff with no weapons are going into environments that law enforcement won't go to. And it was like, wait, how are we doing this, but you won't? And I don't know the answer to that. I do know that they're just to, I think, Director Pittenger's point, they come from a different perspective. They're looking at it different. And some of those, I think we have to recognize, yes, we do have different views and obviously be respectful of what they bring to those views, and hopefully can kind of support one another. So thank you on that front. I did have one question though. And you were sharing the example about the worker who had to get dropped off during a pursuit. Were you saying that was something that happened? Like, how are you describing that? Is that still the plan? Or you said they'll have radios, like what would happen if an officer with a co-response team is in a situation that's that, or like a high-speed pursuit?
So there are several questions in there that all need to be addressed, and I'm glad you asked. So the story of the, doubling back and waving at the person driving away, that was extremely early days. And one of the folks I got to hire, but who is not with the city, who I think you may know, Mark, probably also could attest to some of what we'll call the speed bumps of our early days. So first and foremost, it is if there is an exigent circumstance where the officer needs to pursue, it is something, and I don't know that I want to venture a suggestion, but something that is an imminent safety risk to the public, that officer may be tapped to respond. We don't want them to respond to every 911 call. That's not the point, right? In that case, if their responding partner can be safely dropped off somewhere, I'm just going to make this up, a 7-Eleven, right? A place where they can remove themselves from this. That is the goal. We don't want our team to be caught up in a situation that they're neither appropriate for nor trained for. Now, gosh, sorry, really, someone said we should deactivate this. And I said, no, it's fine. And then of course it's always in these meetings where the lights go off. So that has been, let's just say, reduced, both because of, I think, a level of discernment and sophistication from our officers, where they really do feel like they are fully committed to this. I think in the past, we've had people who were kind of tapped from the zone to be partners with our team, but also had this expectation that they were still part of the patrol capacity of the zone. I don't know that it's just with Chief Lando. I don't want to disrespect his predecessors, but I think that has evolved over time, where these are dedicated units, and I would say these are much more those exigent circumstances where there's some immediate threat to the public where we need them to separate. That will happen. If for some reason a situation does evolve where the team members are in the car, they're not going to, like eject them out of the car. They are going to maneuver with the understanding that person is going to remain as uninvolved as possible and keep themselves safe. And that communication is very clear among our team. When we started, I remember very early pilot days, Sergeant Bristow said, you can tell this is like depending on how old you are, maybe, the men are from Mars, women are from Venus situation of like really, really different ideological and background understanding. And so our team would go up and knock on the door and stand there and like wave. And, the officers they walk up and they like do a knock and then they come back down the steps and they step back. And it was like this very visual kind of representation of the different ways that people perceive threat and risk and safety, to your point, Ray. Everybody's learning. There's really good communication. I think that builds over time. The partners are like kind of established partners. So there's a core, a base training, and then that like established partnership. So if it is something that is evolving, they communicate consistently with one another about, hey, I'm doing this now. This is what I'm doing. You stay in the car. I'm getting out. It is the inherent drawback, I don't know, of having these team members as part of the team, but everybody recognizes that there's a role for each to play, and they're very good about not stepping on each other's toes. And thus far, we have had some situations where there's been separation. It is part of what's motivating the radio access, because we do want one of our team members to be able to call out for help or assistance or to notify others if there is a situation that evolves. And we're grateful to the county and to our internal staff for making that possible. Our team has vests. I remember in the beginning, this was a big point of discussion about whether they would have tactical vests. And we had staff who didn't want them. They did not want to be perceived as in any way looking militaristic or whatever. That's evolved. We don't have, co-response social worker, tack vests, all tack pants, tack boots. I mean, I think one of my colleagues is like, I wear scrubs and wears a hat, right? And so they do have the vest. They zip up, zip down. It's not kind of the same profile as the officers. It's something that, we tell them we want them to put them on if they are going into a situation where they have some uncertainty. I think that's an evolving policy. It's something that we have to keep examining. We want everybody to be safe. There are people who behave in really unsafe ways. They're unwell. They are, unfortunately inclined to do something that is violent or harmful. And we don't want to ever underestimate that. But we also know that rapport building is really difficult and it's pretty essential. And I think, Ray, one of your points was the repetitive nature of the engagements with people. We're going to see them again and again and again. And that rapport building comes with time in those situations too. I think in particular, Jamie, who is in our downtown team, is the like most patient one. And even when we're looking for officers, we said this one's got to be really patient because you're going to see the same 30 to 50 people incredibly regularly until maybe that moment happens where there's some opportunity for a different path. And that's what we're waiting for. I think, there are those that gamble, they're waiting to hit the jackpot. That's our jackpot, right? We're like, we'll wait for that day. We won't push any more than we ethically can, but we're waiting for it. We're waiting for every opening. We're always looking to, hey, what about today? Okay, maybe tomorrow.
Yeah, thank you. And I think the other part of that is it's a weird way to build trust, but like they get to know you over a while. So hopefully those public safety events become less of a risk as soon as you're en route. Like they already know the person coming, so they can hopefully de-escalate. Again, still might not end their struggles, but if we can make this incident less safe for everybody. And again, just by knowing, oh, this person responded the last 5 times, I know them. They care for me, even though I might not be ready yet. And I do think there's value in that. And I think sometimes that's often looked as a failure. And I think trying to make sure that we put that each one of those calls is another opportunity. So.
And I think, you probably met like Officer Crawford, Jeff Crawford, and I've spoken to him many times about that. And it's like, people don't want to get arrested, but they get it. When Officer Crawford's the one coming up to them and saying, look, this is where we got to go. It's like, it has a different impact. It's like they know that he gives them the benefit of the doubt. They know they know he has positive regard. They know he wants things to get better for them. And I think that's what we're aiming for, that Crawfordness. We want that. I don't know if that's a should trademark that, but like, we want that Jeff Crawford, respect in the community, and that's earned. He's worked for many, many years and worked very, very hard to get it. And I think that's what we endeavor to do as well. And I know Sergeant Bristow, who's our supervisor for our officers, there were people who didn't want to see her but loved to see her. You know, it was like, well, I know when I'm seeing you, maybe it's not good, but I'm glad I'm seeing you. So that's harm reduction is an interesting thing. We're always learning about how it applies and how it evolves for us. And we're trying to keep the core part of that, which is we try to give people that positive regard and that chance for things to get better.
Thanks again, Laura. And any other comments, questions before we continue on with Director Pittenger's report?
No, I think that, and congratulations on that EMT. It is not an easy task to get that certification. So hats off to you.
No, I was just pulling out my stethoscope and I was like, it's getting dusty. So thank you, doctor. It was humbling, really humbling.
All right, Dr. Garcia, I see that you're back. I don't know if you want to take the wheel again. I know
Yes,
Ms. Pittenger was still in, I think, the middle of her report. So I don't know if we want to finish that up and then we can go back and actually probably prove the minutes. But
okay.
I wanted to add, looks like we've lost quorum.
we lose somebody?
Looks like Mr. Davis is gone.
Oh. I guess maybe we could try to find him, but I don't know.
He dropped
Director,
off a while ago.
Director, do you want to pick up with your report then?
Happy to do so. Thank you, Mr. Robinson. Our intake year to date is 112. Thanks to Michelle, she receives a batch of complaints regularly from the Office of Municipal Investigations, and she was able to include them in tonight's report. So thanks, Michelle. Alec Wright and I met with the city solicitor last month, a couple of weeks ago, actually. Yeah, forgive me, I took my respite by the sea, so I'm still a little bit like on vacation. But before I went, we did have a good meeting with the city solicitor, and essentially our impression is that there's no history there in the city on the relationship between the board and the city in terms of the litigation and agreements and past practices. Now, some of it could certainly because this is a new solicitor, but apparently
Two jalapenos and I picked one of them big ones.
Okay.
Out the garden.
Someone want to mute?
somebody's
Hey,
Okay. Oh, no.
There you go. She got.
All right.
I'm sorry, guys. My apologies.
So we are now preparing pretty extensive summary of where we've been, how we got here, and what we would like for them to do to support the board's work. It's just, you start to talk to lawyers and it's never straightforward. It's never accepted. Well, oh, okay, then if this is what you said happened, then okay, then that makes sense and we'll go forward this way. It never happens that way. So you know that our goal is to create some protocol that will allow our investigators to resume viewing body-worn camera video that is not protected by Criminal History Record Information Act. That's right now, that's subject to a memorandum of understanding with the district attorney. But it's our belief that that is applicable only to that material that is part of a criminal investigation that would be covered under CREA. The city thus far hasn't seen it that way, but that's not to say that this administration will agree with past practice, or at least from the last administration. So anyway, that's the long way of getting to saying we're developing something to give to them and hopefully resume talks about it in the near future. At least have a better report for you at your September meeting. Since we don't.
Do they sound like they're willing to not go into litigation over it, that we might come to some agreement?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, but there's an uncertainty there because nobody has our history. There's no institutional knowledge left in that law department. They don't have any, I mean, I don't mean this literally, but it's almost like they just took our file and 86'd it. That was it, all gone. But we're still here.
Right.
So no, I don't feel that it was resistance. I think it was just a matter of wanting to be better informed. And
So
better,
it's a learning curve again, sort
yeah,
of. Okay.
yeah.
But we're not getting resistance like we have in the past where we were almost going to litigation over.
No, we're not there yet.
Okay.
Not there yet. There, we are still this strange unit of government that is, you know, a dotted line over here on an organizational design. And so nobody really knows what to do with us. And that's why we've had the extensive history of the litigation with them. Now we're where we are. So I'll tell you more about that, I hope, in a very successful way in September.
Okay. So you have something on the books with them?
We don't have an appointment, no.
Okay.
We have a what I gave in terms of a written memo of why we got to where we are and what we're looking for wasn't enough.
Okay.
So we created a more extensive one, more detail.
Still not enough, huh?
Well, I don't know because I went away.
Okay. All right. So that's a stay tuned. All right.
Yeah. Right. And investigator Mueller is helping me with it. So, you know, we should have something to send over to the solicitor within the next week or so after Alec, our solicitor, reviews it as well.
Okay. Thanks.
Welcome. The notices to City Council on the vacancy created by Ms. Dixon's resignation was sent. I believe you all received a copy of that. And in that notice, we included the second notice to the mayor's office of Mr. Williams' vacancy.
Mhm.
And the unfortunate part of this is that there is no law enforcement seat at your table right now. And yeah, you know, that's a deficit. But if there's a bright side to it, it just means that we still have from now until September to potentially seat at least one of the two law enforcement vacancies. And that will bring back that voice to your table.
Okay.
The
So we may get one, may get two if we're lucky.
yes.
Okay.
Yes, one is a city council nominee and one is the mayoral appointee. And remember that the process is city council under the city ordinance is supposed to establish three subcommittees of council members. Each committee submits one name and to be presented in a resolution to the mayor as a nominee, as nominees, from which the mayor picks one and then sends back for consent of council to appoint to one vacancy for a council designated seat. The mayor, of course, has the discretion to just identify someone and send it to council for consent.
And that's what we're waiting for. And do we see, are we hearing any rumblings of movement on any of those?
No,
Okay.
no, not heard anything at all.
Is there is there something we could be doing? Should we reach out to council members that we know? I'm not sure if you know, do we know who's on that committee?
There are, well, all of them are supposed to be. They're supposed to have three committees of the 9. Each subcommittee is made of 3 council members.
Okay,
And each subcommittee submits one name.
okay, I hear what you're saying.
In the past, our experience has not been quite that formal. They have put forth a name and they haven't really gone to providing 3 names like they're supposed to. They just send one name and the mayor sends it back. So I don't know. It's a political thing for them. And honestly, I don't think there's ever been an occasion where they actually did the subcommittees and all that. The last law enforcement appointment was Miss Dixon, who succeeded Miss McClellan. And as I recall, the last administration attempted to replace Mr. Williams, but it was sent to council and it died in council when the session ended. So Mr. Williams was automatically re-upped for a 4-year term under the terms of the ordinance because 30 days had elapsed. So
there's 5 of us now, right?
yes,
And down 2.
right. So we need 4 of the 5 of you for the next meeting to make quorum,
Gotcha.
which is what we needed tonight, which is why we were trying to reach you.
No, but I was here. My
Yeah.
computer wasn't. But we're good. We're good now.
We're good.
All right, anything else are you okay with me taking over, Mr. Robinson, or you want to continue?
Take the wheel.
You had such a smile on your face, I didn't want to take it away. Thank you so much for stepping in. Beth,
All right.
anything else on your report?
No, I'm not finished yet.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. I had asked Miss Bridget to give you a quick update on her activities in the community. You'll recall she is our community liaison, and she has made it's been a huge asset for us and for your visibility that she's been out and about. And I asked her tonight to give you a brief overview of her experience in the community since the last time the board met in June. Miss Bridget?
Hello. Okay, so far I went to 16 events and I've attended 32 community meetings, and I've also been out in Squirrel Hill. There's 2 hot spots where when the kids get out of school that seem to always have media attention. It's Liberty and Smithfield, and at Squirrel Hill and on Murray Avenue in Squirrel Hill near the Starbucks. And
Yep.
so I went out there several times. They have the reach coordinators out there, OCHS is out there, the Pittsburgh Police. They have just people from the community. I even met an attorney. I believe he worked for Clark Hill, who just came out to volunteer and hang out. And periodically they would have cookouts. And so the last cookout, I asked Beth if we could contribute some snacks, and we did, and they were very appreciative. It seems like there is a boatload of teens that come and hang out, but it clears out pretty quick. Like within an hour and 15 minutes, they're on the bus and gone. So it wasn't bad at all. So I'll go back in the fall whenever they go back to school. And the events I've attended, I went to the Racial Justice Summit, the NFL Draft, the Arbor Fest. There was an August Wilson celebration in the Hill District. There was a town hall with the mayor. I went to the Arts Festival. There was a summer food kickoff for the kids' lunch program. I went to Juneteenth. Then there was a Whammo in City of Pittsburgh celebration, a Juneteenth celebration in Highland Park. There was a District 9 wellness event. I went to both open streets. There was one for the South Side and downtown, and then another one last weekend for the Lawrenceville and Strip District area. I went to the Good Trouble prayer service at Bethel AME Church in the Hill. I went to the Lorimer Avenue Festival and then the Teen Takeover meeting that occurred at CEA at Rashad Burnsong's place, the Community Empowerment Association. And at that meeting, it seems like, in a nutshell, what the kids want, what they did, they had some panel members speak, and then the room was very crowded. Initially, they were not going to let the media in, and then I think the teens didn't want the media in the room, and then they did open doors to the media, and the room was packed initially. The panel spoke initially just for a few minutes, and they introduced themselves. And then they created breakout sessions into 4 groups, and each group had a leader where they wanted the community to give ideas about what they wanted to see done. At times, it was very hard to hear because, like in the next group over for me, I could hear a lady yelling that they have no respect, and she was yelling so loud. I think somebody came over to my group, but I could hardly hear because they weren't using any microphones. At the end of those sessions, everybody came back together, and the room was definitely not as packed. But each of those group leaders, then they read out each of the ideas that the community had gave to them, and then the panel spoke. And then it seemed like the kids, what they wanted the adults to meet them where they are. They said they just want to have fun and they want to meet up with their friends and they want to be heard and they want to be safe. And they feel like there's too many restrictions. At each of the meetings that I have attended, including this one, the police continuously reiterate that they don't want to arrest the teens. I think Public Safety Director Sheldon Williams said they respond to the behavior, so they really don't want to arrest the teens. It seems like at every meeting they reiterate that constantly, unless there's a major event like an assault or stabbing or the incident that happened at Sephora. And so, in a nutshell, it seems like what most of the adults want is they feel like we need places for the kids to go and things for them to do. But they reiterated multiple times that these ideas and implementing these ideas is going to take continuous work. It's not just a one-time thing. And so that's where we left off. The one girl at the Community Empowerment Association, I did not take notes there. I was just kind of listening. I was just listening, but she was supposed to post the notes on the Community Empowerment website. When I looked, they were not posted as of today, but they should be up by sometime at the end of the week. Oh, and also, and also and also I will be part of the cohort. I mean, there's still a lot of events coming up. And then I'll be a part of the cohort for the community emergency management training. If there's ever if there's a major emergency in the city of Pittsburgh, that starts in the fall.
Sherry, the Alderdice students, where they're hanging out at Starbucks, is Taylor Alderdice their principal or assistant principal? Are they involved in helping this? I can't help to think that Mr. Fisher, when I went to Alderdice, Mr. Fisher was a principal, and we all would go to Frick Park and hang out, and Mr. Fisher would show up and send us all back to where we needed to go quickly. So I didn't know if Alderdice, the administration there, are they work? Because I got to tell you, it's mayhem. When I went through up Murray Avenue by that Starbucks.
You know what?
So,
I'm not sure. I really don't know. I did not meet the principal.
okay.
There may have been someone from the and I see the Pittsburgh Public School police officers, but I didn't meet anybody from the administration.
And then on the group that wanted to be heard, is there any takeaways, next steps, or anything around that with the city that they need things to do? Or they, the community parks and rec, are they on board? Are we hearing anything from them?
It appears that everybody's not taking advantage of the rec centers.
Gotcha.
And then I spoke with another officer who works at the Squirrel Hill station, and he said he knows somebody that has like basketball camps up in East Hills, but nobody attends. So I'm not sure exactly what they're looking for. I'm
Yeah.
really not sure exactly what they're looking for.
I mean,
But
I know that the centers are open in the evening, at least till 9.
They are.
And so I just didn't know whether we're not reaching them or we're not, doing what they need. I'm not sure. But the folks that need to get there aren't going. And I don't know how we resolve that.
I don't either. But to be continued.
Yeah. Well, thanks for all your hard work. You're one busy woman, that's for sure.
I enjoy it. Thank you.
Any questions for Ms. Sherry?
I have
Thank you,
one.
Ms. Sherry.
question. I'm sorry, Raymond. I had one question, Sherry. I don't even know if you would have any awareness of it or if it was ever discussed. But was there anything related to stop the violence funds suggested or brought up or?
At the meeting, I thought I overheard, I'm 100% positive that I overheard someone say they didn't understand why anybody who received the Stop the Violence funds, why they said, I don't understand why they're not here and maybe there should be an investigation.
Yeah.
Meaning that the funds
And
might have
even
not been used correctly, or?
No, they just felt like because the meeting dealt with, the teenagers, that they received these funds, that they should be there participating as well, since they get these grants.
Gotcha.
I'm just the messenger.
Thank you.
I get it.
And even at the other community meetings throughout the zones, it seems like car thefts are up, and it's the teenagers, like they're still in the Hyundais and the Kias more. And there's different responses from the parents, and then the kids are right back out on the street.
It's those catalytic converters in those two cars that I guess folks find to be, I don't know, good money or something. I don't know.
They're just easy to take. Most of the kids they're not doing it for money. They're just taking it for a ride. Because they can be stolen, you can steal them with a USB cord,
Oh, okay.
which is a design flaw that they haven't.
Okay.
I
So
think
they're
the new
not
ones
that
are
secure.
addressed.
Okay. Go ahead.
A lot of the kids are. I've talked to. There's several of them who were at the detention center, and it's literally driving around. It's,
Joyride. Breaking in joyrides and leave whatever's left in that car that can be moved out, they take.
yeah.
Which is a good time to remind folks that if you have an electronic key fob, doesn't hurt to invest in a small Faraday envelope and put your fobs in there at nighttime, and nobody can jump into your car by tricking the fob.
Didn't know that one. Okay. Learn something new every day.
Faraday pouch, and that's been, and I know a lot of our neighbors, they've been doing that because we've had that problem with the kids, So anyway, that's just suggestion. And that concludes my report. Unless you have questions for me, I'm happy to answer. Otherwise, thank you.
Colleagues, questions? Thank you for that in-depth report. We appreciate it. I don't believe there's any unfinished business, and I don't believe we have a quorum. But if there's something that someone would like to introduce, but we can't deliberate on, anybody have any new business? Hearing none, it's time for our case review. So let me see how
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Madam Chair, since you can't officially take any action on them,
Right.
I believe there's one for a termination, a terminal disposition. The rest will remain in their current investigative state until your next review, which will be in September.
Right.
Now, in that period of time, however, investigators will continue to investigate those cases. The only unfortunate part of this is that one disposition will have to wait for a formal vote in September. But otherwise, those cases will continue. They will be investigated. Work will be done. And when you receive these summaries in September, there may be, additional actions to be taken, either dispositions or moving forward to a hearing.
Right. The one that we're talking about, Beth, is which case? Do we recall?
Let me grab the agenda here.
I'm looking up for the one case. Is it 26-25 maybe?
In here. Okay. Oh, come on. Here. It is one unfounded case 039-26. Investigator Edwards.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Alrighty. So these will continue then, right? And then we will address this in September.
Yes, and there's also there is one other that I didn't recall. I should have mentioned it to you. That is recommended that you just close the case because the officer involved was received counseling for the incident, so there would be no further discipline to be taken, and that is 026-25.
Okay. Alrighty, well, we can address those hopefully in September.
You can't do anything with them until you have a quorum.
Right.
Yeah.
And is Mr. Davis back? I didn't. Okay. No, I don't see him. All right. Alrighty. So again, just a reminder that we do not meet in August. We will meet on September 22nd, and it is a Zoom meeting. Stephanie, are there any public comments? I don't see anything in the comment section or the chat. Is there anything that anybody out in video world? Let's see. I see one. No, one question, I guess.
I'm trying to get to it.
Mark and Trish say hello. I got that one. Hi to Mark and Trish, and thanks for attending this month. We appreciate you. Anything else do you see?
I don't see anything else.
All right, thank you very much. So without further ado, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I think we can take a motion because we can't vote, but I think we can.
Oh, we can't even do
agree?
that.
We can agree to leave.
Yeah, we just have to agree. I'm sorry, we can't even vote on that. All right. Do we all agree to call it a night?
I think so. Yes.
All right. Thanks so much, everybody. And again, Ray, you're the best. Thanks for stepping in while I had
No
a
problem.
crash.
All right. I'll see you, everybody.
See you in September.
Good night. Thank you.
I was going to sing it, but I won't. Good night.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good
See
night,
ya.
Karen. Thank you.
Good
See ya
night.
tomorrow.
Yep, 11 o'clock staff meeting.